Oh, enjoy it, Lakers, because things are different next year. Look, it's not the Lake Show's fault that it was an easy path this season, but changes are coming in the Western Conference. The Warriors are back. In the East, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are finally on the court. There is so much to get to for the 2021 season, and in this video, we're ranking both conferences to see who's best.
Hey, it's Casey. Welcome to AM Hoops. I have an announcement. Do not fast forward that video. I'm so grateful for all of you. We passed 75,000 subscribers. Let's do a Q&A video for fun. I see a lot of questions down below in the comments, and I don't have time to answer all of them, but why not, like on a weekend, I'll just answer like maybe the top 10 questions or something. So if you have a question for me, any question about who's my favorite team, maybe, I hear that a lot, put it down below in the comments. We will do a Q&A video.
All right, on to the video, and let's start at the bottom of the East. The Detroit Pistons will be the worst team in the East next year. All they have is Blake Griffin and maybe Christian Wood. They shipped out Andre Drummond for nothing because they want to rebuild. If they could dump Blake, they would. But for now, they're going for next year's #1 overall pick. Next is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have whiffed on every draft pick since 2016, and they didn't even get the coach right last season. Kevin Love is still upset in 2021, but his contract is still unmovable. They even fell in this year's draft. So I expect next year to feel just as long as this never-ending season in Cleveland. Up next is the Atlanta Hawks. Another bad season for Trae Young's team, and I predict Lloyd Pierce gets fired mid-season. Yeah, they have Clint Capella, but outside of that, they're not going to improve much. They have the 6th pick in a bad draft. They've got cap space in a bad free agent summer. You guys know I'm not a big fan of Trae Young's defense, but the organization won't admit that he's the wrong star, so the coach takes the fall instead. The Charlotte Hornets fall to 12th after a 9th place finish last season. They finished 2020 just outside the playoffs with a worse point differential than the Knicks. That means a lot of their wins were fluky. I don't expect improvement despite a little cap space, so a full rebuild is on the way. Next, the Knicks. They pick 8th in the draft, so don't expect some savior on the way. Tom Thibodeau will win more regular season games than you'd expect because he makes his guys play defense. Still, there is not a star on this roster, and they'll have to save their cap space, hoping a franchise player takes their money next offseason. At 10th, the Washington Wizards. I predict the Wizards start fast with John Wall back and energized, but they go on a losing streak bad enough to trade Bradley Beal at the deadline. They'll go into full rebuild mode, getting at least 3 first-round picks and a good young player in return, so this season will end up feeling like a win for the future. Just outside the playoffs, the Orlando Magic. Let's face it, they've been a mediocre 8th place team in back-to-back years. Missing the postseason is probably for the best. The front office looks to trade Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic for draft picks, which gives the Magic hope to be better than average like they have been the last 10 years. In the first playoff spot is the Chicago Bulls. And this isn't just about getting Billy Donovan to coach, although that's big. This is about Kobe White hitting his stride and Otto Porter Jr. starting 70-plus games healthy. Donovan coaching does give a big boost to Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr., and this team will finally be back in the postseason. In 7th place, the Toronto Raptors. A huge drop-off for a team that won it all just 2 years ago. And I'm not just being a hater here, even though I know that's what you're going to say in the comments. In free agency, they could lose Fred VanVleet, Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol. A 35-year-old Kyle Lowry could be their best player in a conference with Giannis, Joel Embiid, KD, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, and Victor Oladipo. Yeah, Nick Nurse is good, but he ain't that good. In 6th place is the Indiana Pacers. They are losing either Miles Turner or Victor Oladipo before or during the season. Yes, this year was a coming out party for Domantas Sabonis. They have depth, but I just don't see enough talent to win more than 45 games again in a crowded East. At 5 is the Brooklyn Nets. They've got the talent and depth to be a 1 seed, but there are too many question marks with this team. First off, there will be some locker room drama as soon as a losing streak happens. KD and Kyrie will blame the media, but it will affect them on the court either way. This is a team no one wants to face in the postseason, even though it's a chaotic first regular season for Steve Nash. At 4 is the Celtics. A slightly worse regular season than last year for Boston here. They're super talented, but still not deep enough. If they have one injury, this year could go off the rails. Jason Tatum showed flashes of superstardom last year, but he's still not a top 3 player in this conference. At 3, the Sixers, back to their rightful place as the 3rd best East team. All they need to go from 6th last year to 3rd is 5 more road wins. Doc Rivers delivers it because he's super motivated to show the Clippers they made the wrong decision firing him. It'll be a long honeymoon for Doc in Philly year 1. The 2 seed is the Miami Heat. I do not expect a cool down from a hot first season for the young Heat players. Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero could be the East version of the Splash Brothers with less defense. Their big decision will be to bring back Goran Dragic on a 1-year deal, but I am a true believer in hashtag Heat culture. But the number 1 seed again is the Milwaukee Bucks. This team played Giannis about 30 minutes a game and still dominated the 1 seed last year. They're even more motivated this season to keep Giannis. I think the Bucks make a move this offseason to bring in even more talent. Still, no one believes in the Bucks until postseason success. So that is the East. Let's go over to the West, and actually, I think the worst Western Conference team is the worst team in basketball, and that's the Sacramento Kings. They have one of the worst coaches in the NBA, who one of their stars hates. They may even trade Buddy Hield at some point next season. Their best player is De'Aaron Fox. Marvin Bagley can't stay healthy. 2021 will be a new low in Sacramento. At 14, the Spurs. Yep, the wheels finally fall off in San Antonio. Finally, we start to really look at who the next coach after Greg Popovich is. I think it's Tim Duncan. For now, the Spurs don't have a star on the court that can win games against a loaded and young Western Conference. At 13, the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion Williamson can't stay healthy. The Pelicans pay up for Brandon Ingram and regret it immediately because he's not an actual game changer. Whoever the Pels find as their next head coach is walking into a potential drama-filled situation because the next face of the NBA is looking like an injury bust. At 12, the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant's team had a dream season last year that came down to earth in winning time. I think they still need a few more years of maturity to win big, and although small moves like adding Justice Winslow help, it's not enough. At 11, the Thunder. This team trades Chris Paul, and that signals a rebuild that comes a year after we thought. Without CP3, their best player is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, maybe Dennis Schroeder. Sure, those dudes are talented, but not good enough to make the postseason with a new coach. At 10, the Phoenix Suns. The team of the bubble seeding games. The Suns looked amazing after Draymond Green called them out for not supporting Devin Booker. Look, I want this team to make the playoffs, but I just don't see the depth of talent and veteran leadership to knock off one of the teams that made the postseason last year. At 9, just outside of the playoffs, the Timberwolves. Yes, the year ends in frustration for Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell in their first full year together. Their defense is some of the worst in the league. Whether they trade the number 1 overall pick or not, I still think that they have one of the worst coaches in basketball. Cat demands a trade, and Ryan Saunders is let go at the end of the season. At number 8, the Portland Trail Blazers. Our first West playoff team is the last year with Dame and CJ together in Portland. Look, I like the roster, and Lillard obviously is a superstar, but this team is about staying the same, only getting older, while the rest of the conference is getting more talented and younger. At the end of the season, I think Neil O'Shea looks to trade one of his big names to get out of mediocrity. At number 7, the Houston Rockets. New coach, same results for Houston. I don't see a lot of paths to improvement for this roster around James Harden. Russell Westbrook will be motivated to silence his critics, as always, but now he's 32 years old and he can only do so much. At 6, the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavs need another MVP-level season from Luka Doncic to win 50-ish games again, and he's so good that's not a problem. The issue is Kristaps Porzingis' knees. I expect him to be ready to go around the start of next year, even after meniscus surgery, but he is injury prone at this point. At 5, the Utah Jazz. Utah were supposed to be the bubble Cinderella, but instead they blew a 3-1 lead to Denver, who took that title. Donovan Mitchell said recently he is so fired up for next season, he would start in November if they had to. I expect Spida Mitchell to take yet another step to superstardom after gaining confidence and experience in Orlando. At 4, Denver. Yes, this is a slide back for the Nuggets as the 3 seed last year, but no shame because the 3 teams ahead of them now are contenders. The Nuggets have Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray who ball out, but Michael Porter Jr.'s got a chance to get big minutes and mature. I think 2021 will be a learning process for him, and I expect really big things after next year. The 3 seed, the Lakers. They take a step back and exhale after winning the 2020 title. It is normal for teams to relax a bit once they've achieved a goal, but that doesn't make them any less dangerous in the playoffs. LeBron's Cavaliers team or his last Miami Heat team both took a step back after winning a title. I expect the same in LA. At number 2, the Warriors. The Dubs are back, baby. Golden State is motivated to prove the dynasty is still alive. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green are healthy. They work Andrew Wiggins in the fold too. There's a chance this team trades that number 2 overall pick to improve and uses the $17 million trade exception. I love the Warriors 2021 regular season, but I love the Clippers even more. The number 1 team in the West is the one with a ton of talent and the most to prove. The Warriors were cut down by injury and Kevin Durant's exit, not their fault. The Clippers, though, are looked on as failures. Their players are too talented for that label, and the new coach is going to want to prove that letting Doc Rivers go was the right decision. I expect Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to lean less on load management and play more than last season to get chemistry going. The Clippers will be favorites again when the 2021 postseason rolls around. So those are my early power rankings for the 2021 regular season. Of course, some things can change with major moves, but there's already a ton to look forward to next year. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.